So, the new update that had people in the Jujutsu Shenanigans subreddit conducting satanic summoning rituals actually dropped. This update did an insane amount of stuff. I do plan to cover it all, but this video is going to cover the two centerpieces, which are Naoya and Mechamaru's ults. That is not to downplay the other updates, they're also huge. Lots of characters got variants that they didn't have before, and the balance of those characters has definitely gotten impacted by that in a way that's worth talking about. Those deserve their own video though, which is why this one's only on Naoya and Mechamaru, two ults which are basically unprecedented and are completely unique from anything else in the game for completely different reasons. One because of a horrible ult activation that hurts their performance in ranked, and the other having an unfair, unfightable, actually ridiculous ultimate that does the exact opposite and makes them a guaranteed win in ranked against anything that isn't themselves. And honestly, I'm surprised I don't see more of them, the only reasons I can theorize for that being that the base for the character is still really mediocre and difficult to use, or some honor system where people just won't play it in ranked because it's blatantly unfair. But I don't think JJ's players are that honorable, being completely honest. Anyways, that's enough of yapping. Let's actually talk about the ults. Starting with Naoya, his ult's pretty interesting. When pressing G, you don't enter ult. Instead, you do bleed out, your 2 move. If someone hits you and interrupts the bleed out, then you do a little animation, and at the end of it, you awaken. If you aren't interrupted, the stab proceeds as normal, and if you hit someone, it's just bleed out. But you also lose a huge chunk of awakening. Enough in ranked that you're not getting it back. It's a huge regression in your ult progress that is honestly ridiculous. If you do get your ultimate, then you turn into a glorified Dorito with a Draco blocks your face. Talking about the model real quick, this is probably one of the most controversial parts of the update, this and Mechamaru being busted, which I'll get to later. But here's my take on it. The model isn't good, and it's not the kind of low quality that's excused with the "it's a shenanigans game" argument. Compare this to Mahoraga or Divine Dogs, and you'll see what I mean. Mahoraga and Divine Dogs, pretty much all of the official UGC for JJS, all have this blocky art style to them that looks goofy but still conveys what it's supposed to be. It looks low quality in an endearing way, but it definitely doesn't look low effort. Naoya's ult model looks really low effort, mainly because it's just a brick with a face. Just a little more parts to make it look more 3D, and maybe more like a husk or a shell or something, definitely don't go with what Naoya's cursed form is actually supposed to resemble, and it would look a lot better. A remodel might already be in the works, I wouldn't know, but it's definitely the kind of thing that needs it. Anyways, that tangent's over. Passive-wise, Naoya gets heavily increased movement speed. He can increase that by using his R special, which makes him zoom around in a circle, dealing low, unblockable damage in an AoE, which increases his movement speed even more. This can stack up to 4 times. As for moves, he has 3, one of which is a domain. Top speed makes Naoya fly in the direction of the camera, yes you can steer this, and anybody he makes contact with during this takes damage. How much damage depends on how many frames you break and how many times you used R special. Speaking of frames, move 2 is flash freezing. You summon a bunch of frames that move in a line in front of you that depends on where your camera is facing. Think of it like John Doe's spikes in Forsaken. I'm so sorry I don't have a better analogy for this, and the frames just sort of sit there afterwards. The frames will burst if an opponent touches them, or if you fly through them with top speed. The frames bursting also domino effects, and burst all of them too. Flying through the frames with top speed makes you go even faster and deal even more damage, enough to bump that damage up to an insanely high amount. Both moves are really good, and in general, these parts of the ult are strong. You can't hit Naoya, he runs around in circles way too fast for you to counter at all, and you can't counter his attack because he just flies at you at Mach 5 or whatever, with you not being able to do anything about it. Maybe you could catch him out of it with Lapis with Maximum or something, but in general his ult is crazy hit and run demon that can't be pinned down and is very difficult to defend against. Sort of, but not really makes up for how risky his ult activation is. As for domain, it's a good domain, yeah, but it's not really that good in his kit. Domain resets you to the base instantly, regardless of if you actually get to cast it or interrupted. In your domain, your opponent takes heavy damage if they move. What counts as moving is stuff like doing moves, walking, and most notably, getting knocked around by an outside force, such as your M1s. Blocking doesn't count though. It's an incredibly strong ultimate because it basically stops the opponent from fighting back at all, while you gain a massive damage boost on all your attacks, all of which are going to go unopposed, because you knocking them back deals a ton of damage to them. Basically, it's a guaranteed kill domain, like all of the other domains in the game. The issue, and why I don't recommend using it, is that he struggles to have confirms into his domain, and missing it kills off his entire ultimate, which is already more than enough to rack up a ton of kills on its own. Maybe as a last hurrah, when your ultimate is about to end, you can use it since the downside practically doesn't exist by that point, but anywhere earlier than that it's just not worth it at all. Overall thoughts with Naoya are that his ult itself is really strong, but having the melee counter an enemy to use it is really, really bad, especially with how badly you get reset for missing. Lowering how much awakening you lose on missing the counter should happen. Other than that, no particularly strong feelings. It's a pretty interesting ultimate, and while it feels a bit one trick right now, that's definitely going to change as more moves get added to it. Meanwhile, Mechamaru got 2 buffs for base, both related to Puppet Barrage, and obviously he got his ultimate. The first buff is that Puppet Barrage can be used during any move. That's really good for neutral, and is a huge buff in the sense that if he does anything stupid, he can press Puppet Barrage, and the opponent's ability to punish said stupid play immediately gets tossed out the window. Unless whatever Mechamaru did has so much end lag the opponent can M11 Puppet, and then immediately M1 the Mechamaru. The other buff is a distance increase on the Puppet Barrage forward dash, also a pretty good buff, but not nearly as game-changing for him. Anyways, let's talk about the ult. Mechamaru's ult ragdolls him before he turns into Ultimate Mechamaru in a fairly long animation. Once he's up, he's up. Mechamaru is unfightable. Normally I'd add the words essentially or basically because I don't like absolutes, but in this case I can use absolutes because there's legitimately no counterplay for him. Ultimate Mechamaru is completely immune to stun. He has 175 HP, doesn't sound like a ton, but then he gets 50% damage reduction on any attack that isn't to his torso or head. And the amount of attacks that can actually hit those parts are basically none. I don't even know how you could get up there without being in a public server where you can climb buildings, and even then, Mechamaru will probably just destroy them and then shake you off of his jump. His M1 combo is changed to each hit dealing 10 damage. Thankfully, they knock people away, so usually you won't get hit for a full 40, but if they get you up against a wall, ranked, then you can very easily just eat 40 damage with there being nothing you can do about it. He also has the ability to jump into the air and then do a plus-sized Curse Strikes aerial that does a ton of damage too. Notice that this is all just passives, and I haven't even talked about the moves yet. The first move is Miracle Cannon, which is a giant AoE in front of you that does 35 damage and can't be blocked. Anyone standing in front of you basically just gets nuked, and getting out of that radius is harder than it sounds when Mechamaru can move super fast and you can't interrupt it at all. That, and you can just use walls to negate the whole startup downside. Then he has his second move, Pigeon Viola, which is just 23 damage the opponent cannot do anything about. He sends out 5 rainbow orbs of Doom and Spare, and then they chase down the target, each dealing 4 damage, and you can't block or really do anything against these. Maybe you can Manji kick them, I haven't tried, but you're still gonna die regardless. Anyways, surely with this ult being so stupidly overpowered, he's got some downside. Right? Right? Using up moves reduces your awakening time. That's it. There's nothing else. In theory, this isn't a bad drawback. It's a super strong ultimate, but the more you abuse it, the less time you get to actually mess around, in theory. Issue is a couple of things. Maybe a lot, actually. First one is you don't need to use moves to win with Mechamaru. All of those passes I listed make him an unskillable, unstoppable, unescapable tank that can just hold the M1 button and kill you without any difficulty in ranked, and with a little bit of difficulty in public servers because you can actually get flung away. In that case, there really is no downside. You just become an unbeatable killing machine for the whole duration of your fairly long ultimate, and that's that. Second one is that all his moves are guaranteed value, so there really isn't a risk reward to anything where you have to be super careful of using your super strong moves and your super strong ult. Every button press is guaranteed value. Pigeon Viola has no counterplay, and Miracle Cannon really isn't that hard to confirm into. Just don't use it from 5 miles away and you're fine. No matter how you put it, the ult's design, I'm guessing it's intended to be a strong ultimate that you have to stall out rather than fight, doesn't work. Because it's impossible to stall, since they added moves with no counterplay, and Mechamaru can bypass this whole gimmick of moves draining awakening time by just abusing his overtuned passives. It practically makes ranked unplayable, because in the ranked format where all that matters is getting 3 kills on the opponent, Mechamaru can easily achieve this with 0 difficulty as long as he gets ult. Getting ult isn't a hard conditional either. In this fight I had with a Toto player, I had my ultimate, and the match hadn't even progressed that much. We were both only down 1 stock each. He has such high ult gain, and when you pair that with the objective best ult in the entire game, he becomes a guaranteed win in ranked. The only way you lose is if you get shut down so hard you can't get ultimate, and in that case, that's just a skill issue, and you wouldn't have won on anything else. The ult is in a really weird spot where the shenanigans aspect and the fighting game aspect of JJS completely clash in its existence. Shenanigans-wise, it's funny. You feel like a god when you're using it, and if you're fighting it, you don't really care that you're losing. You're probably in VC with your friends, screaming like a chipmunk into your mic because you're terrified as hell. No stakes on the board, so it being some unbeatable god gives you the joy of a horror game. The moment you start treating JJS like a fighting game though, it becomes awful. It's something you can't do anything against, so you start feeling screwed over, and the game gets frustrating because all control is out of your hands. No matter what you do, you just lose. The obvious band-aid solution, I am not recommending this, it's not really a great idea, is to just disable the ultimate in ranked where it actually is problematic, and let people have their fun in public servers where nothing matters. The actual, permanent solution is going to take a lot more work to figure out, because like with Higuruma, it's one of those unconventional ult designs that is going to be really hard to balance. Zir Imed, I'm not sure who's working on the ult, I think it's Imed, he made the base for Mechamaru, is working with something pretty difficult here, because the line between blatantly overpowered and feeling like crap is kind of hard to figure out when the character's gimmick is supposed to be that it's an unfightable ultimate. I say all of this not to disparage the work that's gone into the ult. Visually, it's really cool, and even design-wise it's super fun to be using it, and really fun in public servers too. The problem is that it's incompatible with the ranked portion of the game, and there isn't a way to deal with it. It's like adding a mod spec into the game. Funny in public servers, oh my god, it's Super Z, woohoo, that's so fun. Terrible if you ever put it in a situation where it's actually supposed to be fought against in a fair 1v1. It'll probably get nerfed, the testers and devs are pretty diligent in my opinion, so I don't think it's going to stay this way forever, but man, is Mechamaru's ult quite the overstep. Overall, this update is really cool. Despite me kind of airing out a lot of grievances with the ultimates and stuff, that's not to say they aren't awesome. When you ignore every balance aspect and just focus on fun of friends, not caring about win, loss, whatever, all this stuff is great. Mechamaru is a ton of fun to use, Naoya's super goofy and funny, all of this stuff is perfect for a Discord voice call with a friend group. The problems are mainly when you start treating JJS like an actual game, and there, yeah, the problems are big. Still, it's a lot of fun, I'm excited to see what the developers do next, and with that, that's the end of the video. I'm Noob Eternally, thanks for watching, consider subscribing if you like this video for more JJS content, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye!